Okay, so I realize that Fugazi is an insult in Italian, but it's also an interesting concept. Um, fake people. Well, what it is it's not fake people. It's fake white people. It's very specific. Um, and so when you're a fake white person, and I grew up in America being a fake white person, um, you you have a lot of caution, and I think that's not a personality thing. It's learned. It's learned. You learn caution because you're a mix and you're passing. So I'm talking about people in America who pass for white, but not quite because they're mixed race, and and generally, I think it doesn't. Most of these people um, are half white and half another race, or maybe a quarter another race. There is a kind of divide, um, or they're white enough that uh, they have enough white ancestry that they're light skinned, kind of like black yellow people, the yellow people, right? Um, but I'm very conscious that that when I'm really messing with a with an idea, uh, and trying to take something that's an insult and branding it on my head like in pride, right? And 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 there is a certain pride for someone who felt like a Fugazi all their life, and then when you get to a certain age, you just it's well, it's just when you get there, you get to my age, 57. Um, it's just a reality. It's a reality you've put behind you a little bit. You try not to 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 dwell too much on it anymore because America's going through some terrible stuff with the identity thing and the cultural thing, specifically, especially the cultural thing. How hard it is for the culture to absorb these new immigrants, and so I think I have to define. I think I have to define the Fugazi because and 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 America. The reason I have to define it is because America has to start making better use of all the things they have in America. Um, and one of the things they have is a growing population of mixed race people, but there's a specific experience of passing that also layers on top of that, so that the Fugazi generally don't experience the kind of racial profiling from white America that that other races do. Um, But when it boils down, there's always a question in America, and that question is, are you really trustworthy? And to white people, not all white people, because a lot of white people don't want to be racist, so they're not going to judge you, your trustability on those terms. But I think for the cultural white America, this identity that is really a Fugazi white identity, which is a mixed white America. So that's Fugazi Aryans, I suppose, or whatever. This idea that as long as you don't have any other races, you're white. It's just that's a construction in order to preserve a connection back to Europe, and it's not really all it's sort of necessary, but it's actually not, because it's not necessary because in some ways Europe has been dealing with this whole thing for an eternity. And one of the eternity things is that you know is it what's it I'm an it Fugazi, and then there's not it Fugazis. Not it Fugazis have white fathers, and that's an interesting, and I'd say, but I don't want to get too into that, because then we're getting into this whole patriarchal thing, right? This whole how patriarchies develop and how they preserve themselves through less and less competition from other males for their male descendants, by multiplying, and so we have, that it's possible that all the royal family is Charlemagne. Could be. We don't know. I don't know. Do you know? Probably not. It's probably not, but they're probably not. But but at some point there must have been some Charlemagnes in the royal families. I don't know. Maybe not. What happens is with royal families is you get things like what happened to the Duke of Normandy, where all his male ancestors died out, and that was sort of a karmic thing, where the guy who conquered England didn't last very long. His descendants didn't last very long. But yeah. So just to clear it up, I ran this by AI, and AI is all, oh no, you can't do that. Oh, you can't say Fugazi. What are you doing? Oh, be careful. What are you doing? So, and I'm just like, well, no, this is like, and definitely, this is where Italy plays a role in that these people, the Fugazi, in a way, they're a lot like the Romans were. The Romans actually had a multiracial society at one point. That was after it was falling, and I think it was falling, but it was falling because of empire, not just because of some issue of an impure people or some nonsense like that. It was already, and the same thing with the consolidation of wealth and all that stuff. It all happened in the Roman Empire. We know that. America's teetering. We haven't fallen yet, but we're teetering. because we've got so much damn wealth at the top. So, I'll read the what I wrote to ChatGPT. I said, "Hey, I'd like to do a talk on YouTube about mixed race white Americans, and I'd like to call them Fugazi." Straight away, that could make, or no, not yet. That could make for an interesting discussion, but straight away. But I encourage you to be careful with the terminology. The word Fugazi has a few meanings depending on the audience. In American slang, it often means fake, counterfeit, or not genuine. Some people know it from the punk band Fugazi. I do, and also because I'm Italian. Not Italian. Lived in Italy. Because, sorry, I sometimes I think I'm Italian, and I've had spiritual things where I identify with this particular guy way back in the past who was sort of the middle class Roman who was trying to protect the Republic. Anyway, if your topic is about the history of mixed European ancestry, so this is where they miss so right away the AI misunderstood what I was saying, but that's okay. If your topic is about the mixed European ancestry and white Americans, that's actually a fascinating subject. Most white Americans are not from a single ethnic background. Many have combinations such as English and Irish, German and Italian, Polish and Ukrainian, Scottish and French, Dutch and Norwegian. Over generations, those distinctions often blend into a broader identity of simply white American. If your thesis is that the United States has created a new ethnic identity from the mixing of many European peoples, you could frame it in a way that invites discussion rather than alienates viewers. For example, America's new ethnicity, the rise of the mixed European American. When English, Irish, German, Italian, and Polish became white American, the melting pot nobody talks about. Are white Americans a new ethnic group? You could even mention that, unlike many European countries, where ethnic identities remained distinct for centuries, the U.S. saw an extensive intermarriage among different European immigrant groups, especially after the early 20th century. That makes white American a cultural identity that is often broader than any one ancestral origin. If Fugazi is meant humorously or symbolically, you would probably need to explain it very clearly at the beginning of the video. Otherwise, many viewers may assume that you're saying mixed race white Americans are fake, and that could distract from your historical or sociological argument. Well, thank you very much. Because, in a way, white Americans are Fugazi Europeans. They're fake Europeans. They're not fake people. They're just not European anymore. And they're very proud about being American. So I'm curious what you mean by Fugazi. Are you using it to mean a new hybrid ethnicity, an identity that no longer matches old European national origins, or something else entirely? So I said, well, no. I'm talking about people who have mixed race heritage from other races. Mixed Europeans is another topic and amounts to a discussion of purely white America. Thanks for clarifying. That is a different topic. If you're talking about Americans who have both European ancestry and ancestry from other racial or ethnic groups, for example, someone who is part white and part black, Asian, Native American, Latino, Pacific Islander, or another background, then you're discussing multiracial Americans, not simply Americans of mixed European ancestry. I'd still advise against calling them Fugazi because Fugazi commonly means fake or phony. Many listeners would understandably interpret it as suggesting that multiracial people are somehow less authentic, even if that isn't your intention. it's a term with a strong negative connotation that would likely become the focus of the conversation rather than your ideas. Well, there you go. And what I'm doing is pretty much just establishing Fugazi pride. Okay, in a sense, and this is something that is really building a bridge out there without support. But